we all know that there's a lot of people out there who are, coming to crypto because they can't even get a bank account, and a small amount of money can be their life savings. And another part of what drove us to really look at this issue and try to come up with solutions is, getting those emails, and it really is heartbreaking. And like I'm well off. I'm sitting here in the United States. If my crypto got stolen, I still have my Visa card. I still have my bank account. I still have my paycheck. But having people from all over the world try to get this across really, drove it home.
Yeah, it brings up a really really good point. One of my previous guests, Ian Andrews, he's the CMO over at Chainalysis, and he really drove home a point for me, which is it's not always about the unbanked. There are a lot of unbanked, but you and I, we don't know what that's like, right? Like, fortunately, we don't, but like there's a lot of people that affects. But on the other side of things, if you're transacting in a country like Nigeria, where you have to set up a manufacturing company, and that manufacturing company wants to trade in the global reserve currency, which is US dollars. But in a country like Nigeria, it may take you 30 days to convert your Nigerian money into a US dollar. And by that point, the prices may have changed for the inputs that you need to manufacture it.
Yeah.
Well, if you have USDC, that problem is solved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So there is a lot of really cool use cases for people in countries that don't have the benefits that we have, and enforceability. If Gerard has anything to say about it,
yeah, for sure. No, that's an interesting point. Is we're providing highly liquid access to dollars all over the world, which doubles back to the idea that blockchain is in our national interest, not just for that reason, but for a lot of other reasons. Being able to avoid censorship in countries that are less free than ours. These are all, American ideals that we like to see spread around the world. And so blockchain has a case to make, law enforcement has a case to make, and we're hoping that we're able to get the best of both worlds combined and, help blockchain move forward.
Yeah, and it's essential that we can enforce our legal rights when we do that, right? It's not, from the first episode of my show in May of 2022, one of the common, discussions is a lot of the bull cases for crypto is dystopia in the rest of the world.
Totally.
Right. And if there exists a balance where you can still have legal rights and not complete societal breakdown, I'd choose that one.
Totally.
I think
the dystopian point is a great point because, I'm a big sci-fi guy. And one of the things that was upsetting to me was this idea that if courts really can't do anything about this, then courts cease to be particularly relevant if blockchain is ascendant, because they can't do anything, And so I practice civil rights law. I do trials. I see justice happen, and I know that it's really important. And I also, because I've been practicing law for a while and we all went to law school, we have an understanding that none of the way that human beings are able to interact, the complex ways that support the way we live today, are possible without complex laws that require enforcement mechanisms that everybody can rely on at the end of the day. I mean, people like to hate on courts and the law and lawsuits, but it's like oxygen to the commerce system. So, so that dystopian thought really drove me to try to figure out how are we going to make it so that these two systems can coexist and maybe even make things better on both sides of the equation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's providing that level of security not only puts the kind of sentiment of new consumers or customers or communities, however you want to phrase it, but it also just provides that level of balance where, and you talk about this a lot in your white paper, where there's risk priced into all these assets and they're still at extraordinary prices.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens when that risk is decreased, right? I mean, that in itself is the ultimate scale, risk reward, right?
I mean, the whole idea of property rights are things that you can rely on. And so the more reliable it is, the more valuable it is. And I think of the analogy, of, if you took my house and put it in a neighborhood that was poorly policed, where houses get broken into all the time, and you're not safe in your own home. That house is worth an awful lot less, even though it's the exact same piece of property down to the last detail, as it is in the neighborhood I'm fortunate to live in. So having effective law enforcement makes property much more valuable.
It makes property much more valuable. And then taking your analogy a step further, it also can decrease disparity in pricing, right? If you live in I live in a gentrified area for all intensive purposes. And the people that go to the corner store in the area a couple blocks from here, where there is a ton of crime and there's a ton of drugs, they're actually paying more for their goods, and they can afford less because there is so much shoplifting and so much theft that the owners of these shops have to price it in order to make money.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, that's true.
You know?
And also, there's less competition in those neighborhoods for corner stores, because a lot of people are like, I'm not getting involved.
I'm not.
Yeah. So like, imagine how FTX looks if, Citibank and Chase and all of them felt comfortable taking digital assets.
Yeah.
FTX does not happen.
No, it does not.